Okay, so we've talked now a bit about this concept of mind as a process that occurs between individuals, therefore is social, therefore is historical, and it's a process that regulates the flow of energy and information. I think that's very helpful as a start, but maybe it would be helpful for us to dig a little deeper, particularly as we're comparing the human mind with this creation of the human mind that is the computer. Okay? And I believe that one of the things we need to avoid is the impression that, these two things are very, very similar. The human mind, we have said, has a number of physical limitations that perhaps the computer doesn't have in terms of how fast signals can travel and how much it can operate in terms of signaling frequency. Human mind about 200 hertz, computers, 15 million instructions per second or more. But I don't think that's the only difference. In fact, I think it may be important for us now to also talk a bit about how limited our rationality is, or how bounded our rationality is as human beings, because the more we study human psychology, the more we become aware of our flaws in decision making that don't necessarily follow what we might call rational decision making because we are humans. We tend to have biases. We have tendencies, such as, for example, the need to confirm what we already believe. So we tend to look for data that validates hypotheses, beliefs that we already have. This what we call the confirmation
So how about
bias.
the systematic errors that Kahneman talks about? That thinking itself has systematic errors.
Well,
In other
exactly,
words, we thought it's logical, but actually it wasn't.
exactly. There are systematic errors. I guess more generally, this is what we could call a whole series of biases, whether these are confirmation biases, cognitive dissonance, where we ignore information that conflicts with beliefs that we have,
Mm-hmm.
and so on. Now, we could talk about the subject quite extensively. There's a lot of research on this, but I'd just simply like to make the point, because I don't want anyone who's listening to us to get the impression that we think of the mind as a rational agency, that's just a little slower than the computer. That's not what we're saying at
Mm-hmm.
all. Okay, the mind, the human mind, does have limitations in terms of these systematic errors. I think that's a point that is quite significant when we go on to the fundamental topic which is of interest to us, which is how do we get the human mind to work synergistically with the creation of the human mind that is the computer.
Mm-hmm.
What are your thoughts?
The computer technology is constantly improving and changing itself faster and faster today because of the convergence of technologies, because of a lot of collaboration in different fields. So phone then becomes camera, and then becomes a computer, and who knows what else will come on tomorrow. In fact, let's talk about all these technologies going to be put into a motor vehicle, that motor vehicle drives itself, and you can have all the computers and all the music and all the movies and whatever you do, and not worry about where your car is going. And that's going to change the world significantly, especially if it's an electric car. And the world is rapidly continuing to change. So change is, will it ever stop? From my lifetime in working with computers, it never stopped changing. Today it's on the phone now. Next time imagery could be, you don't need the screen anymore. It's like what you see on Star Trek, and just there without touching it. So one really cannot tell what will come out. But what we can do, I believe, is that prepare ourselves for change. There is maybe something there that is, I believe, the mind can adapt. The mind must be informed. The mind must feel it safe to explore. So there are certain attributes to our minds, I believe, attributes that either came because of habit, came because of our our genes and the nurturing, came because we chose some options along the way that decided that this is how we will go. So I think the power of the human mind, I guess, is that it can self-program itself, while maybe the computer, maybe we haven't reached that stage yet where it can begin to write its own program.